Hi, everybody. This is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you have yet to do so. And if you get anything from my work, connect the dot, an epiphany, a mind explosion, a new book to read, new author to explore. Consider supporting my work. All the links are in the bottom of the description of this video. And AllyKatzkreations211.com. I got skulls, business card holders. I'm doing solid ones, different colors. I just got gold out of the molds. I got pyramids, I got artwork. Go check out my stuff. I do a lot of customization. So if you're looking for a different color, if you're looking for something unique, please check out my website and then email me if you see anything you like. Thank you. So today I had a very profound, sorry, my camera has been doing this last few videos. This morning I had a lot of downloads and they were very profound. It took me forever to wake up physically. A lot of energy. And I did a TikTok, so in the description, I'm gonna leave my TikTok channel. I started it a week or two ago. I don't remember. I had it and then I never used it. And then got to get the messaging out. So I talked about the negativity, especially with products and things. I already went over this with the spiritual soul advice episode a few months back. But what is beyond good and evil? What are you feeding? What are you feeding? Because I think it's very important to understand the concepts of knowing both sides, seeing the benefits, the pros, the cons, going an eagle eye view, going above the situation, looking down, and seeing where your energy is feeding objectively, not giving yourself harsh criticism, not giving yourself judgment, because we're all programmed and indoctrinated. And sometimes we don't even know consciously what we're projecting out because we have good intentions. We have a really good heart and we want the best for people. And sometimes we speak unconsciously. It's the truth. I used to do it all the time until people pointed out to me, do you know the way you said that was really harsh and horrible? And I'm like, well, next time you have to point this out to me because I don't know how I'm projecting things or how other people are taking it. And then when people would stop me, I stopped, took a breath, and then apologized for my behavior and then reset my thoughts, alchemized it, and said it in a way that people, A, can understand, not find offensive, and not coming off as a bitch. I'm an Aries. I'm blunt. Can't help that. That's a part of my characteristics of myself. I am very blunt, but maturing into where I am now, I put the thought process in what I'm saying, and I'm more thoughtful with my words. So that's something I think a bunch of us need to work on because it's still popping up in feeds and stuff. The judging of other people, well, you're eating meat, you're a horrible person, and you're using that product because you're going to kill the planet, and it's just negative talk. Not everybody has the financial means to afford all this holistic stuff. It is expensive. I'm not saying not to support those people, but there are people that can't afford it. Sorry, it is like really raining, literally pollen outside. So I do apologize about my cough. We got to be more mindful. Like I brought up in the TikTok, the pineal gland, and how do you know if it's calcified? You're making an assumption. And instead of making me feel bad about something I didn't do to myself because I was young and my parents didn't know that fluoride is evil, right? Instead of making me feel bad for a situation I didn't do for myself, like I was innocent and not knowing, well, here's a detox that might help you. Instead of saying bad things or things that would make somebody put somebody down, hey, you know what toothpaste I use? I use charcoal, activated charcoal. And I use X, Y, and Z, whatever it is. And you can get this at the store. That's what's been helping me. So instead of like downing somebody for using a product that you find poisonous, well, maybe instead of putting that product down, it's okay. You're trying to inform and give people knowledge. You're trying to inform them that maybe the things that they're using isn't best for their health. So instead of making them feel bad and lowering their vibratory state by saying, well, that causes cancer, you're going to die, don't do that. And I don't recommend that. That's lowering someone else's frequency. And that's you putting and speaking negativity out into the universe. We want to be constructive with our words. So how do we do that? Well, I use this product that's been helping me. I see and notice a huge difference. Maybe this is something you should try. There's your seed that you're planting. Oh, the chemtrails in the air. Well, you or I are not the pilots of that plane, nor can we help it. So bless your food. Go outside and talk to your plants. Stand there in your frequency and give all the plants in your mind, send it light and love. Everything has been exposed to some kind of particulate that isn't healthy for us. But there are people out there that can't get organic food because of the prices. There are people in cities who rely upon the farmers, even though it's out in the middle of the sticks, it doesn't matter. Air is air and it's getting into everything. We can't allow everybody to be beat up for what they lack. Everything is a blessing and everything is source. So if you criticize other people for doing them and being happy, what are you lacking? Are you judging other people because you find it offensive? You find that, oh, you're going to kill yourself if you eat that or do this or do that. We got to stop that nonsense. You have the best heart in mind because you want the betterment of someone else. And I get that. It's just watch the way you project your words because it's still spellcasting if it's in a negative context. Instead of, oh, this is going to kill everybody. Well, no, I don't want to feed that because that is going to manifest in reality. Do you see how easy it is for them to do something and then we find it nefarious and then we speak the nefariousness out into manifested reality and it manifests? See how that works? Once you understand how manifestation actually works, when you don't think about it and you're blessing everything, the vibratory state of your sentient home space, your land is sentient, Gaia is sentient. You're speaking God and light into everything that you have. We're all going to die anyway, so stop fearing that in itself. Look at the higher view and look down. That's what our oversoul is doing with us right now. Our oversoul is all the way up here, looking down and trying with each section of density that our other selves are in, the higher selves that are the ones that we look up to ask for clarity and questions and, you know, I need help. And they drop down and they're looking at the perspective to say, okay, here, I'm going to send you a sign, or here, I'm going to give you a message. That's just your higher self. And there's multiple layers of that. So be that higher self Imagine yourself in that position, looking down at your 3D avatar playing around on the earth. View life that way. See the illusion that we're living in. It is reality. Things are material, but it's a learning experience. And when you can detach your emotional states to things and look at them objectively, you will then understand what I'm saying when it comes to, okay, you don't want to use this product because there's things in it. Well, here's something better. Instead of downing a product, maybe that's all they can afford. Here's an alternative, and let that be their choice. That's your other self. Stop knocking your other selves down for the choices that they're making. It's a divine story. They wrote it, sources having an experience through it. Leave it be. Just let it go. I had to get that out. Sorry. This guy. Peoples and Fatherlands. So we know that Friedrich Nietzsche was in Germany for a big part of his life. So there's a lot of German stuff in here, and this is very interesting. So whatever I am going to read, and I'm going to skip around, there might be some German insert here, like Germany insert, but just apply it to wherever you are. Because a lot of this is applying to the here and now in wherever you're living. Doesn't matter where you're living. A lot of what he's saying in the things I'm going to read next applies. Quote, what flavors and forces, what seasons and climes are not mixed here? It strikes us now as archaic, now as strange, tart, and too young. It is just as capricious as it is pompous traditional. It is not infrequently saucy, still more often coarse and rude. It has fire and courage, and at the same time, the loose, dun skin of fruit that ripens too late. It flows broad and full, and suddenly a movement of inexplicable hesitation, like a gap opening up between cause and effect. A pressure triggering dreams, almost nightmares. But already the old width and breadth are regained by the current of well-being, the most manifold well-being of old and new happiness, very much including the artist's happiness with himself, which he has no wish to hide. His amazed, happy sharing of the knowledge that means he has employed here are masterly new artistic devices, newly acquired, not yet tested, as he seems to let us know. Although no beauty, no south, nothing of southern and subtle brightness of the sky, nothing of gratefulness, no dance, scarcely any will to logic, even a certain clumsiness that is actually stress, as if the artist wished to say to us, that is part of my intention. Cumbersome drapery, something capricious, barbarian, and solemn, a flurry of erudite preciousness and lace, something German in the best and worst senses of the word, something manifold, formless, and inexhaustible in a German way. A certain German powerfulness and overfullness of the soul, which is not afraid of hiding behind the refinements of decay, which perhaps really feels most at home there. A truly genuine token of the German soul, which is at the same time young and superannuated, overly mellow and still over-rich in future. This kind of music expresses best what I think of the Germans. They belong to the day before yesterday and the day after tomorrow, as yet they have no today. Now, insert you where you live here now. And that totally applies. Quote, he thinks and knows as much of philosophy as a peasant or a fraternity student, said one. He is still innocent. But what does it matter today? This is the age of the masses. They grovel on their bellies before anything massive. In politics, too, a statesman who piles up for them another tower of Babel, a monster of empire and power they call great. What does it matter that we, more cautious and reserved, do not yet abandon the old faith that only a great thought can give a deed or great cause? Suppose a statesman put his people in a position requiring them to go in for great politics from now on. Though they were ill-disposed for that by nature and ill-prepared as well, so that they would find it necessary to sacrifice their old and secure virtues for the sake of a novel and dubious mediocrity. Suppose a statesman actually condemned his people to politicking, although so far they had better things to do and think about. And deep down in their souls, they had not got rid of a cautious digress with the restlessness, emptiness, and noisy quarrelsomeness of peoples that really go in for politicking. Suppose such a statesman goaded the slumbering passions and lusts of his people, turning their difference and delight into standing aside into a blot, their cosmopolitanism and sweet infinity into a serious wrong, devaluating their most cordial inclinations, inverting their conscience, making their spirit narrow, their taste national. What? A statesman who did all this for whom his people would have to atone for a future time. If they have any future, such a statesman should be great. Now think about where you are and who is in your legislatures, who's running your town, who is running the shit show. Without a doubt, the other patriot replied vehemently, otherwise he would not have been able to do it. Perhaps it was insane to what such a thing. Perhaps everything great was merely insane when it started. An abuse of words. His partner shouted back, strong, 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 and insane, not great. The old man had obviously become heated as they thus flung their truths into each other's faces. But I, in my happiness and beyond, considered how soon one stronger will become master over the strong. Also, that for the spiritual flattening of a people, there is a compensation, namely the deepening of another people. And medley of races, perhaps even with the preponderance of the pre-Aryan element. As people of the middle, in every sense, the Germans are more incomprehensible, comprehensive, contradictory, unknown, incalculable, surprising, even frightening than other people are to themselves. They elude definition and would be on the account alone the despair of the French. Pausing here to say, once again, this is pre a lot of things. This is the 1800s, just embarking on the 1900s. Really listen carefully to the words and insert your situation wherever you are. Because it says German doesn't necessarily mean in the time of now, this is their mentality. It was back in that time as he's perceiving it and interpreting it. I'm not saying all German, I'm sure I have German in me. That doesn't matter. Insert your in the now moment, people's, places, and things in here because it's happening now. He talks a lot about Mozart and Beethoven, which is kind of intriguing, but I want to stick to where we are in the here and now, where we can apply it from this section, because a lot of it's on Germany and his perspective of it. We're on the cusp of change. We're on the cusp of the ending of a cycle, a major, minor, and middle end cycle. This is all the marbles. So when we hear people saying this is biblical, it isn't necessarily biblical in terms of what you think. It's a war that's been sorted out upstairs already, and it's just falling into our reality now and into our density and dimensional space. There's a void that is being brought out right now because many of us are already been elevated. There's a gap in this void where then there's everybody else. And we're feeling the effects of this void because things do need to be peeled out and poured out, invented, so that it is left in that old space so we can move on to the next. We can't bring the old luggage with us. We can improve on old ways, but we can't bring really the old ways with us because it's not going to work in the higher densities. The creative thinking, the creative invention, all these things are going to be brought with us. It's not like, oh, we lose the idea of what a pen is. Maybe we can improve what the pen ink does or the grip. We're not undoing the past. We're making it better and bringing it forward. In order to do that, we need to cycle this old shit out. The old ways of doing things. And that's everything in structure. What is happening today that's playing out on your outside world that you are watching is a movie. Stop attaching your emotional states to those things. Because let me tell you something, it is a very obsessive thing when you have nothing better to do. You're retired, you got nothing going on in life, and you're obsessed with information that isn't going to better the future or the now. You're trying to prove the past. Well, we just need to learn about what was the past and make our own perceptions of what was wrong, because we all perceive differently. We need to move forward. Everybody's still stuck on past and who did what. And yeah, I get it. We do need to know that stuff. It's not irrelevant. But how much time are you spending on creating that future for all? It's a good question. I know each day I speak frequency, I speak positivity. I'm trying to shift a paradigm within people to start making better choices for themselves in terms of doing better for themselves, self-love. We still have to live in 3D in these vehicles. As we're shifting, most of us are already on 4. There's a little transition between 3 and 4. There's not many differences. When you rise higher, you're only getting little snapshots of 5. You're not in 5 and you can't be in 5 until you ascend. These might come with us, they might not. Can't get hung up on that stuff because you don't die. Your energy transforms. That's it. But I think he brings out a very interesting argument with a lot of these things. The laws of written style were then the same as those for the spoken style. And these laws depended partly on the amazing development and refined requirements of ear and larynx, partly on the strength, perseverance, and power of ancient lungs. A period in the classical sense is above all a philosophical unit insofar as it is held together by a single breath. Such periods are found in Demosthenes and Cicero, swelling twice and coming down twice, all within a single breath. are delights for the men of antiquity, who, from their own training, knew how to esteem their virtue, and how rare and difficult was the delivery of such a period. We really have no right to the great period, we who are modern and in every sense short of breath. What Nietzsche didn't understand was he was also in the beginning of a cycle, starting a new one, not where we are, but he was a part of the Enlightenment period. The greatest minds were being channeled at Nietzsche's time, because that was setting up for here and now, to start thinking outside of boxes. Nihilism, existentialism, all the sophistry, and all these metaphysical, philosophic terms were really not birthed, but they were really like intensely added into this era and time that Nietzsche wrote. The greatest minds were plucking through Aristotle and Socrates and Pythagoras, trying to understand how to apply their ancient texts into the here and now. And now here we are dissecting what they're saying so we can apply it to our here and now so we can move forward, understanding we're not to repeat. And I think that's what a lot of these philosophers are trying to do, is to see objectively reality for what it really is and navigate a roadmap to moving forward in their time, and how to influence other people with their works so that people weren't stuck in the propaganda. And that's where we are right now. You know, watching my, not a hometown, I wasn't born in the Bronx, but my cousins live in the Bronx. And there was a rally there the other day, and seeing both sides and how things were being projected and manipulated in the media. It's some scary shit. But I'm glad that New York finally got a rally that it needed, and that people are waking up and seeing, and it doesn't matter what side you're on, and most of those people are on one side that was like, okay, this isn't working. We got to look at the other side and kind of give it an ear just to have an understanding. So it doesn't matter where you stand. What is the betterment for all of us? And what is going to get us there? That takes all of us, not just some. So I had to go read forward a bunch, because once again, I want to attune to this, the here and now. There are truths that are recognized best by mediocre minds because they are most congenial to them. There are truths that have charm and seductive powers only for mediocre spirits who come up against this perhaps disagreeable proposition just now, since the spirit of respectable but mediocre Englishmen I named Darwin, Joseph Stuart Mill, and Herbert Spencer is beginning to predominate in the middle regions of Europe's taste. Indeed, who would doubt that it is useful that such spirits should rule at times? It would be a miserable mistake to suppose that spirits of a high type that soar on their own paths would be particularly skillful at determining and collecting many small and common facts, and then drawing conclusions from them. On the contrary, being exceptions, they are from the start of a disadvantage when it comes to the rule. Finally, they have more to do than merely to gain knowledge, namely, to be something new, to signify something new, to represent new values. Perhaps the chasm between know and can is greater, also uncannier, than people suppose. Those who can do things in the grand style, the creative, may possibly have the lacking in knowledge, while on the other hand, for scientific discovery and series of types of Darwin's, a certain narrowness, aridity, and industriousness, diligence. Something English, in short, may not be a bad disposition. These stupid flies in my house. Now apply that to the now. And we're going to move forward. It's a lot about Germany and France. What is noble? And I'll start this and we'll end it here. Every enhancement of the type man has so far been the work of an aristocratic society, and it will be so again and again. So society that believes in the longer ladder of an order of rank and differences in value between man and man, and that needs slavery in some sense or another, without the pathos of distance, which grows out of the ingrained difference between strata. When the ruling caste constantly looks afar and looks down upon subjects, instruments, and such a constantly practices obedience and command, keeping down and keeping at a distance the other, more mysterious pathos, could not have grown up either the craving for or an even widening of distances within the soul itself. The development of an even higher, rarer, more remote, further stretching, more comprehensive states. In brief, simply the enhancement of the type man, the continual self-overcoming of man, and to use a moral formula in a supra-moral sense. To be sure, one should not yield to humanitarian illusions about the origins of an aristocratic society, and thus of the presupposition of the enhancement of the type of man. Truth is hard, let us admit to ourselves, without trying to be considerate, how every higher culture on earth so far has begun. Human beings whose nature was still natural barbarians in every terrible sense of the word, men of prey who were still in possession of unbroken strength of will and lust for power, hurled themselves upon weaker, more civilized, more peaceful races. Perhaps traders or cattle raisers, or upon mellow old cultures whose last vitality was even then flaring up in splendid fireworks of spirit and corruption. In the beginning, the noble caste was always the barbarian class. Their predominance did not lie mainly in physical strength, but in strength of the soul. They were more whole human beings, whose also means at every level, more whole beasts. A lot to take in, even though I didn't read the whole gamut of things. We're moving, and we got to move forward and create and define new orders of things. We're all equal. And instead of chopping down societal classes and labeling everything, we need just to come together and be one. And that's the unity that we need to focus on. As we see in different cycles of reality, things were defined. They were already made. Now we're the ones who make the future, and we're the ones that dictate it. We're the ones manifesting it. So let's try to look forward and say that we're all one and stop labeling and judging and making labels for everybody. There's always going to be people that are higher or below, but we're all one. So we got to stop thinking in those terms. We got to respect one another. And when is that going to come back? It's starting to. Slowly. But each and every one of us can start seeing that difference. Start putting out there Instead of feeding negativity and saying, well, that's going to kill you. Well, let's say, okay, but this is going to help you. It's your choice to take it or not. It's your choice to eat the shit or not. It's your choice to label and judge, but let's get away from that. Let's point out good things. Let's bring better things into existence. Because when we stop the energy pull of bad and good, and we come to neutrality and we just stick to what we know best, and that's moving forward, living in the now, and stop feeding this bullshit. Well, they're killing us. They are killing us. No, they're their other selves. We're killing us. When it comes down to it in realistic terms. So let's stop doing that. Let's stop feeding that side, that energy of the they. Stop feeding it. And we'll move forward in society. So guys, sending each and every one of you love, light, compassion, and grace. Protection and shielding energy. Blessings to everybody. I hope all of you have a fantastic, wonderful day and weekend. Please be safe. Sending everybody my love to all the heroes and people that fought for our freedom. And I hope to see you guys on the next one. Bye for now.